Welcome everyone, this is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are talking about WWE Crown Jewel 2023 live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and we got a show that featured Roman Reigns defending the undisputed Universal Championship against LA Knight, a big time main event, especially for LA Knight, how far he's come. And getting into this big position, super over. The fans are firmly behind him. Did he make it to Saudi Arabia to beat Roman Reigns and win that championship? Not quite. Unfortunately, LA Knight suffered the same fate that many others have suffered before him, and that is losing to Roman Reigns as a result of countless outside interference. In this particular match, it was Jimmy Uso, the main catalyst, who prevented LA Knight from getting the big win over Roman Reigns. The match itself, I thought, was a very, very good match. I thought Roman and LA Knight meshed pretty well together. There was a bit of a down point early on in the match. In fact, I think there were some brief CM Punk chants that broke out in Saudi Arabia earlier in the match, but I thought coming out of that, Knight and Roman had very good back and forth chemistry. Knight proved that not only on the mic does he deserve to be in a main event position, but even in ring, toe to toe with someone like Roman Reigns, who is on top in this company and has been on top for several years. LA Knight belongs in this spot, and even with this outcome, hopefully he maintains some presence in the main event scene. But like I said, Knight did not get the win. I didn't expect it, which was why I was pretty confused as to why they would want to do this match. They've been going all in on LA Knight, and yeah, one would expect him to be in a championship match on pay-per-view in the main event, but at the same time, you really don't want him to just go in there, challenge Roman, and lose just like everybody else. But they had other plans. Here, LA Knight, he seemingly had the match won at different points. Solo Sikoa almost interfered, but he was stopped in the aisleway by security. But Jimmy Uso appeared at ringside. We didn't get a ref bump in this match, which was pretty refreshing for a Roman Reigns match. But LA Knight, at one point, he did lay out Roman with the BFT, the blunt force trauma, went for the pin, but it was Jimmy Uso on the outside who got Roman's foot on the bottom rope and prevented Knight from getting the win. Knight went outside, went after Jimmy Uso, even planted him through the announce table with a slam, but Roman Reigns came around the corner and speared LA Knight through the barricade, a spot that we've seen countless times in Roman Reigns matches. But he got LA Knight back in the ring, hit him with a spear again, and got the 1-2-3. So Roman Reigns, to the shock of no one, is still the WWE champion, and LA Knight did lose in this big match. But will he lose his spot? Is some shine lost on LA Knight? Is the momentum and popularity that he has been gaining over these past several months, will it all just fade away after this loss? I don't think so. First of all, it's way too early to tell. You don't know. The fans, we know the fans can be pretty fickle sometimes. Could they turn on LA Knight as a result of this loss? Maybe, but I don't think that's going to happen. They painted the story, the commentators did, that LA Knight got screwed here. That if it weren't for Jimmy Uso interfering and all the shenanigans that happened, LA Knight would have won. That's the same story that they've told countless times with so many other people, though. With Kevin Owens, with Sami Zayn, with Jey Uso, with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. It's happened so many times. In fact, I've named the only championship matches Roman Reigns has had on pay-per-view all year, which is hilarious in a sad way, but still hilarious nonetheless. But it's the same story over and over again. Even with there not being a ref bump, we still did get a very similar style Roman Reigns match here, especially with the outside interference. In fact, the last 4 matches that took place on this pay-per-view all had some kind of interference. I call that very lazy. In this case, and just focusing on this match in particular, it's the same old bloodline interference shtick that we've seen in so many other Roman Reigns matches that took over LA Knight. Can he survive this? Can he still remain popular and remain in the upper main event top spot in the company on the show? Hopefully this was not them just building him up just to feed him to Roman Reigns and then discard him to the waste bin. Hopefully this is them building LA Knight up, putting him in this big championship match against Roman Reigns, and just a very small taste of what is to come in the future for LA Knight. Now, do I see him going on and coming back to win the Royal Rumble and go on to face Roman in a rematch at WrestleMania? No. I think that spot is procured by Cody Rhodes. I do believe Cody, he has his spot for WrestleMania, and I do think that's where we will get that big rematch. And I don't think, as popular as LA Knight is, I don't think it's popular enough to overtake their plans, their long-term booking plans that they have for WrestleMania. And I think that spot belongs to Cody Rhodes. Where does Roman Reigns go from here? I don't think we're going to see Roman Reigns again. Early reports were that Roman's not going to be at Survivor Series, which they confirmed to be War Games. Roman was at War Games last year. I don't believe he will be there this year. It would make sense for him to be, but Roman was off television for several months before. So if there's an opening for him to disappear from TV again, perhaps for the rest of the year, I do believe that's exactly what's going to happen. So Roman Reigns retains here and will probably fade away. As for LA Knight, Jimmy Uso, the Bloodline, and all that stuff, I do see a War Games type match in their future. I do see some kind of combination of the Judgment Day and the remaining 2 members of the Bloodline teaming up on one side, and a bunch of different baby faces, you know, your Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, maybe even LA Knight, all on one side too. Maybe perhaps a return appearance for one Randy Orton that's been rumored and speculated for a while. Maybe that could also take place there. We'll see. But as for this night, on this show, a good showing for LA Knight. He had the match of his life out there, but he did not win. I didn't expect him to win. I'm sure a lot of you did not expect him to win, but hopefully this is just the first of many future main events for LA Knight, and hopefully that's a good thing. Now, as for the rest of the show, there was a lot of good, there was a lot of not so good, and then there was some ugly on this show, so we'll go through some of the other big key points that took place on this show. The show opened up with the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. This story that the two of them have been having on Monday Night Raw over the last few weeks has been some of the best storytelling on Raw leading up to this pay-per-view. And the story of Drew McIntyre's slow descent into madness and the slow burn to what I can only assume is a heel turn for him has been very captivating for the last several months. Thought it was going to blow up here on this show, but it did not. Although I think the outcome of the match that he and Rollins had will eventually lead to that point. But I thought these two had a very good match, some really cool near falls and great spots all throughout this entire match. The fans were really into Drew McIntyre. Not that they were necessarily booing Seth, it kind of sounded like it, but they were really behind Drew in this match, and it looked like they really wanted to see him win. Drew was booked very strong in this match. He even kicked out of a stomp at one point, but in the end, as he went for one final Claymore kick on Rollins, Rollins ducked it, and he ended up hitting a pedigree and then followed it up with another stomp to get the win, retain the championship. Drew walked away looking so sad and dejected, and this left Rollins all alone in the ring, only for the Judgment Day's theme music to hit. And out came Damian Priest with his Money in the Bank briefcase, came out, was attempting to cash in. It looked like he was all ready to do it. Then out of nowhere, a hooded, masked figure attacked Damian Priest, rammed him into the ring post, and he revealed himself to be Sami Zayn, who then picked up and stole the briefcase and ran out of the arena through the crowd. Sami Zayn, we saw him earlier in the night. They actually had a kickoff match on this show. It was a win over JD McDonough. Huge ovation from the crowd for Sami Zayn in that match, which was a pretty good match all by itself. But an even bigger reaction for Sami Zayn coming out here to thwart the cash-in attempt and steal the briefcase from Damian Priest. We didn't see Sami Zayn for the rest of the night. So that took out any possibility of Priest potentially even cashing in or attempting to cash in later on the night during the LA Knight Roman Reigns match. But this pissed off Damian Priest enough to him being motivated to take on Cody Rhodes in their match. They had a match on this show. We had some interference in this match from members of the Judgment Day. We had Finn Balor come out at one point. We had JD McDonough come back out. Dominic Mysterio was on his way out with a steel chair, but he got cut off by Jey Uso with a super kick, and then Jey laid out Balor and McDonough with super kicks and chased them all off with steel chairs. It was left down to Rhodes and Damian Priest, and Rhodes eventually got the win with the Crossroads. So a very standard match, nothing overly spectacular about it. It was marred with all the interference. It was nothing overly special that you wouldn't find on an episode of Monday Night Raw. In fact, this is a match that we have seen on Monday Night Raw, so there was nothing about this match that justified its placement on this pay-per-view at all. This could have been anything, but it was a way to liven up the crowd and give Cody Rhodes a big win as he's back on his path to finish his story, I suppose. And this match did come at a time to wake up the crowd, because the crowd was pretty quiet for a few matches on this show following certain things that happened. Following one big match that took place, which was John Cena taking on Solo Sikoa. Solo's first singles match on pay-per-view. John Cena trying to get some redemption here, having not won a singles match in over 5 years. This match was really good. This match painted Solo Sikoa as a monster. We had a few hope spots from Cena. I will say this was the best that I have ever seen Solo Sikoa look on his own, and John Cena also looked great. I have not been overly impressed with John Cena's in-ring performances, especially in singles matches in the last couple of years, but I thought he had a damn good match and went above and beyond to make Solo Sikoa look good here. And this match was a hell of a lot more enjoyable than the match that Cena had with Austin Theory at WrestleMania this year. But the whole story of the match was Cena doing everything he could to fight off the Samoan spike. They were building that up as a big deadly move. And finally, Solo did catch Cena with it. Then he hit him with another one, then a third one, and then a fourth one. And then as Cena was laid down, Solo lifted him up and just rained down on him with a bunch of spikes, only to get the clean pinfall victory. I for sure thought with the story they were building up that this was going to be a win for John Cena, but they shocked me, pleasantly surprised me with doing the right thing, which was giving Solo Sikoa not only the win, but the clean victory over John Cena. And Solo left, and Cena was left all by himself in the ring. He got a standing ovation from the crowd. He did the slow walkout. Michael Cole is teasing the whole retirement thing. We know Cena teased that on TV a few weeks ago, that retirement is in the back of his mind here. Was this the last John Cena match we'll ever see? Probably not. I'm sure Cena will be back. But I do think that this is going to be the end of his run for now. Cena came back in September. He's been a regular figure on TV over the past several months. He's done a great job of putting over other talent, endorsing people like LA Knight, showing up in NXT. He's been all over the place, doing a lot. And this run, very much unexpected, but was very good. It was cool to have John Cena back on TV as a regular character again, not just a one-off appearance here and there, but an actual regular occurring role on the show over the last few months. It's been cool. So if Cena's going to go away for a while, then so be it. I thought that he did as well of a job as he could to put over Solo Sikoa here in this match. So good on him. Unfortunately, after this match is where the show kind of died a little bit. There was a Miz TV segment where he had this big famous actor from Saudi Arabia. I'm going to try to pronounce his name. I apologize if I don't get the pronunciation right. Ibrahim Al-Hajjaj, I believe is his name. And he got a big ovation from the crowd. But this led to Grayson Waller coming out and some back and forth stuff about talk shows. It ended with Hajjaj laying out Grayson Waller with a very ugly people's elbow. But I think this was done to further the Miz babyface push that has come out of nowhere, as reported earlier this week. And this was just something for the crowd who sounded like they liked it, but then they really didn't react to much after this. Case in point, the U.S. title match that took place after this between Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul. The match itself was good, but to be honest, and it's very hard to believe that I'm talking about this in a match where he faced Rey Mysterio, but this was one of the weaker Logan Paul matches that I've seen. It was not really overly special, but it was good, and it got better as the match went on, as they went a little bit longer. We had some interference in this match. One of Logan Paul's friends or groupies, whatever you want to call him, he came out, he tried to give Logan Paul some brass knucks. Rey Mysterio knocked into Logan Paul, and the brass knucks went flying out of the ring. And so when this guy tried to go back around to get them, to give them back to Logan Paul, Santos Escobar, fellow LWO member, he hopped the barricade, got in this dude's face, he took the brass knucks and chased the guy off. But before he chased him off, he set the brass knucks down on the ring apron in plain view of everyone, especially Logan Paul. So as Rey Mysterio sets Logan Paul up to hit him with the 619, Logan Paul picked up the brass knucks. Rey came around, hit the 619, and went for the springboard splash, but in midair, Logan Paul caught him with the right hand right to the jaw with the brass knucks and got the 1-2-3. And Logan Paul is the brand new United States champion. I have no issue with this. Logan Paul has had a handful of matches now. I think this was his 8th or 9th match ever, and he has impressed in all these matches. Even though I thought this match was one of the weaker ones he's had so far, it was still a very good match and a very good performance from Logan Paul. At one point during this match, he saved Rey Mysterio's life. Rey went for a springboard moonsault and he came off. Logan Paul caught him, but Rey almost landed on his head. And if Paul didn't catch him the way he did, that would have been very catastrophic. So he can hold himself well in this atmosphere here. Hopefully, we can see Logan Paul on a more regular basis. Paul, he shows up, he has a big match, he promotes it, has the match, and then he disappears for 30 days or whatever. Hopefully, we can see him be a regular person on the show. Not every single week, but just a little bit more often, defending the championship, all that stuff. So, good there. As for Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio, there's no way you can tell me otherwise that Santos Escobar did not do that shit on purpose. It may not be revealed immediately, but maybe some seeds of doubt will be planted in the mind of Rey Mysterio, and then later on down the line, it'll be revealed that Santos Escobar did in fact do that on purpose, and we will get Santos turning heel in a proper Santos Escobar Rey Mysterio match, probably in time for WrestleMania. We had the WWE Women's Championship on the line. This one followed the U.S. title match. If the crowd was pretty quiet during that one, they were very quiet for this one. And it was disappointing to see because Io Sky and Bianca Belair, they had a match in Puerto Rico at Backlash earlier this year, and the crowd was so hot for that match. So you come here to Saudi Arabia for this one, crowd couldn't really care less about this match. They were into the other women's match that happened earlier in the show. We had Rhea Ripley defending her Raw Women's Championship, the World Championship, against Nia Jax, Zoey Stark, Shayna Baszler, Raquel Rodriguez. That was for as clustered as it was, a pretty good match. And Rhea got a very dominant win as she laid out Shayna with the Riptide. The pinfall got broken up, but then as Raquel is in the ring trying to pin Shayna Baszler, Rhea is on the middle rope with Zoey Stark in position to hit her with the Riptide, and so she hits Zoey Stark with the Riptide and slams her onto Raquel, who is on top of Shayna. And so as Raquel and Zoey are discarded, Nia is off somewhere. She pins Shayna and gets the win. From the beginning of the match, Rhea Ripley came off as the biggest star in the entire match, so it was the right move for her to win and retain her championship. But that was a fun match, and the fans were really into that women's match. They just weren't really all that much into the Bianca Io match. And it was unfortunate because there was a big moment that happened during this match. We had an appearance from Bayley, who tried to come out there and interfere and give the assist to Io. Bianca was taking care of Bayley on the outside while we get the return of KAIRI SANE to WWE. We have been reading rumors and reports and speculation online for months now that KAIRI SANE was making her way back to WWE. She just finished up in Japan not too long ago, and they were going to bring her back, and the reports were that she was going to return on this show, and she did. Unfortunately, the crowd didn't seem to care all that much. There was some light applause, there was a little bit of a reaction, but not really. KAIRI SANE, it's not like she was this big star when she was last seen on WWE television, but she was a figure on the main roster. She had a run as a champion. She was one half of the tag team champions with Asuka and the Kabuki Warriors. She had a main event match on a pay-per-view when her and Asuka faced Charlotte and Becky Lynch in the main event of a pay-per-view once. So this woman was seen in that match. She got concussed and kind of disappeared after a while after Becky hid her to prevent Charlotte Flair from going after her because Charlotte Flair could not tell that this woman had a concussion. I digress. It was pretty disappointing to see that there wasn't much of a reaction for KAIRI SANE in this match, though, when she made her return. But this did lead to Io Sky hitting the moonsault on Bianca Belair to retain her championship. After the match, Kairi and Io laid out Bianca. Io held down Bianca so Kairi could go up top and hit her with the moonsault. Or the elbow drop, I should say. Io held Bianca down so Kairi could go up top and lay her out with the elbow drop. Still beautiful as always, that elbow drop there. And Bayley, who was still out there, she was on the outside looking shell-shocked because, as Michael Cole pointed out on the commentary, the last time we saw KAIRI SANE on TV was during the pandemic era in the empty performance center, and we saw Bayley brutally attack KAIRI SANE, and that was her last appearance on WWE television. And so here, this sets up a pretty intriguing story because Io and Kairi were all embracing, they were hugging each other here, they were definitely standing side by side. Meanwhile, Io is still a member of Damage Control. Bayley looks to be completely stunned, so we'll see what the dynamic is after this with Bayley and Kairi. Asuka is somewhere out there. On that same show where Kairi got attacked by Bayley, Asuka sacrificed her championship to go out and chase after Bayley and to console and take care of Kairi. That cost her championship in a match against Sasha Banks, where the title could change hands on a countout. Asuka ran out on the match to go help KAIRI SANE, and now you fast forward all these years later, KAIRI SANE is here, and she seemingly wants nothing to do with Asuka. She's teaming up with Io Sky, who the two of them already have their own backstory and history together. So this sets up a bunch of unique stories that could be told here with the women, and the best part of all of it is it sets up a pretty intriguing story surrounding the women's championship that does not involve Charlotte Flair. So that's a win-win in my eyes. But the match itself, good, but not overly great. And that about does it for this show. Overall, top to bottom, a good pay-per-view. It was better than the Fastlane show last month. It's still one of the weaker pay-per-views this year, in a year of some great pay-per-views from WWE. But overall, top to bottom, I did think it was a little bit on the weaker side, but it was still pretty good. And all roads point to now Survivor Series, War Games. Like I said, they confirmed it. So we'll see what goes down on that show. We'll see if a certain individual who got his name chanted during that main event may return to the company at that show. So we'll see about that. But before then, we do have an AEW pay-per-view, that being Full Gear, 1 week before Survivor Series, in fact. So I'll be back to cover all that stuff. It's good to be back, guys. Thank you for listening. If you like what you saw and you like what you heard, hit that like button. Comment down below what your thoughts were on this show. And subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter at DerekJ Speaks. Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate all of you. Love you guys. Check you later.